From WGEM in high definition. This is WGEM News Today, the Tri-State's news leader.
New this morning, 1 year after the Illinois budget impasse, we take a look at how local organizations are doing now and how they feel about the future.
Plus, new information after years of planning, a big first step underway to renovate Quincy's riverfront.
But first, new this morning, President Trump says the U.S. will stay in NATO as other countries agree to increase their defense spending.
And the president making those comments to reporters just about 30 minutes ago as he wraps up the NATO summit in Brussels.
But hang on, not so fast. Just minutes ago, French President Emmanuel Macron responded to Mr. Trump saying that's not true. Macron denies that NATO powers agreed to increase defense spending beyond previous targets. Macron going on to say that Trump never at any moment, either in public or in private, threatened to withdraw from NATO.
The president now is heading to the United Kingdom. And again, the president in that press conference saying other NATO countries agreeing to increase their spending, which has long been one of his criticisms for NATO. And as Natalie just said, French president responding and saying that's not necessarily the case.
Continue to follow this to Today's Show. We'll have more as well. Meantime, we switch gears, head over to meteorologist Jeremy Lenford for a look at our forecast. Another hot, another humid July day ahead. Jeremy?
That's right. Yeah, we're looking for those daytime high temperatures to make it up into the low to mid 90s for most of us. Currently, we're sitting in the 70s across the tri-states and upper 60s here in Quincy, about 68 degrees, 72 at Hannibal, 66 at Mount Sterling for you there in Brown County, and about 64 up in McDonough County and Macomb. Now, dew points in the 60s, and this is not overly oppressive, about 62 degrees at Novelty, 65 degrees at Quincy. You know, the other day when we were talking about those feels like temperatures up around 100 to 105, we were dealing with dew points approaching 80 degrees, so that was just remarkable dew point temperatures. Wind speeds and coming in out of the south and southeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour, and that is what is drawing in some slightly more humid air today. Yesterday we were coming in out of the east, or the drier areas out here toward the east across Indianapolis. So as we go through the day today, we're going to see a slightly more humid afternoon for us, and then it'll get even more humid as we go through the week ahead and into the weekend with some thunderstorm chances. We're going to track that coming up. Back to you.
All right, Jeremy, into our top local headlines now. And 1 year after Illinois lawmakers ended the state budget impasse, social service agencies say that they are optimistic about the future.
New this morning, local organizations like Two Rivers Regional Council in Quincy were hit hard by the cuts. But how are they doing now?
WGEM's Drew Brown joins us live in Quincy with more on this story. Good morning, Drew.
Dylan, good morning. Here at Two Rivers Regional Council, they say things are getting back to normal, but they still are seeing the effects from that long budget impasse. Now, 2 years ago, they cut staff and hours due to lack of state funding. And now the money is flowing again, but they say that they're still not seeing all the money they expected. For instance, one of their biggest programs, the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, took a 23% cut for the upcoming fiscal year, and that program is meant to help people find jobs.
Ideally, we always like to see more funding for our programs, but if that's not the case, then we just try to find unique ways to meet the needs of the communities with what we have.
Two Rivers says that they are trying to use grants and other ways to make up for the cuts they're experiencing. And he added they'll continue to operate like previous years, but the loss of funding means they'll be able to help fewer people. Live in Quincy, Drew Brown, WGEM News.
Drew, you mentioned jobs. In what way does Two Rivers actually help with that?
Well, Oshner says here at Two Rivers, they help with helping folks apply for jobs and training, and that can mean healthcare, logistics, and operations and manufacturing, and that's welding and truck drivers. And even though that project took a 23% cut, officials say they're going to try to help as many people as they possibly can once again.
All right, Drew Brown live for us in Quincy this morning. Drew, thanks so much. Meantime, new information after years of planning. A first step is underway to renovate Quincy's riverfront, and it's a pretty big step. The Riverfront Committee is asking for a boardwalk and visitor boat dock to be built in this area you are seeing here just off of Hampshire Street. These are just initial plans, but new this morning, it all goes back to part of the city strategic plan that was passed by City Council earlier this year.
As one of the most heavily asked for, things when you ask residents what's missing from the city of Quincy. What is one thing that we can do to really catapult Quincy into, maybe being 50,000 or economic development and growth.
The deadline for companies to submit their concepts and proposals is next month. The county, city, and park board all have to sign off before any work begins.
Speaking of the Quincy Park District, they have agreed to a 10-year, $150,000 contract with the Avenue of Lights for naming rights for Wavering Field. No word yet on what the final name for the field will be. Commissioners also unanimously agreed to spend $164,000 to convert Wavering Field to synthetic turf. The look of the field would be similar to that of neighboring Pepsi Field. And the Quincy Park District, meanwhile, agrees to let the city test a site on Quinsipi Island as the possible future site of a water well. It was back in March that Illinois Governor Bruce Rauner raised water safety concerns over the fact that the current water treatment plant pulls water from the Mississippi River. He thinks a groundwater system would not only help to reduce Legionnaire's concerns at the Illinois Veterans Home, but would benefit residents in Quincy. While Park Board commissioners have okayed the test site, they have not gone as far as to agree to using the island for the well just yet.
Happening today, the public can take a look at the master plan for the future of the Illinois Veterans Home in Quincy. The open house style event runs from 4 to 7 p.m. at Lippincott Hall at the home, where you can give feedback on decisions that will shape the future for residents and families alike. You can also meet project leaders and learn about the history of the Vets Home. The facility has been in the spotlight due to Legionnaire's crisis, which has led to the deaths of 13 residents.
New information on a story that we first brought to you last night at 10. We're looking at how the company that will now be managing Monroe City's water treatment facility plans to do so. Monroe City signed a 5-year contract with the Nebraska company People Service. They will pay the company around $53,000 a year to manage its water and wastewater treatment facilities. New for a morning audience, People Service Regional Manager Steve Guthrie says there's a lot of work to be done.
They do have some wastewater plant issues. The sewer plant is aging and may need replaced. We're not sure yet to meet the new regulations, but those are all things we'll be diving into and working with the city council and the city administrator to make sure they're making the right decisions.
People Service will completely take over management of the facility starting in September.
A suspect has been arrested for allegedly stabbing a man in Hancock County. Sheriff Scott Bensinger says it happened Monday night inside a vehicle near Pontusic, Illinois. That's about a quarter-mile south of Highway 9 and 96. The sheriff says the two men got into an argument and a 43-year-old man was stabbed in the chest. A 34-year-old man was also hurt. Both men were treated at the hospital. 2 other people who were there inside the vehicle are both okay. Sheriff Bensinger says the suspect's identity is not being released since charges are still pending.
New developments overnight. The chairman of Papa John's Pizza is out of a job this morning.
John Shatner, who founded the company, stepped down late last night. This after it emerged that he used the N-word on a conference call back in May.
He was a familiar face for the company. Papa John says that it would appoint a new chairman in the coming weeks. Shatner had apologized earlier yesterday after Forbes reported that he used the racial slur while participating in a role-playing exercise designed to prevent public relations crises.
Also new overnight, Stormy Daniels, the adult film actress who's made headlines for an alleged affair with Donald Trump, has been arrested in Ohio. In a Twitter post, Daniels' attorney Michael Avenatti said she was performing in a strip club and accused of, quote, allowing a customer to touch her on stage in a non-sexual manner. And Avenatti claims there were several undercover Vice officers in the club. He's called the arrest a setup, politically motivated, and said it, quote, reeks of desperation.
Happening today, we will hear from the FBI agent who was removed from the Russia investigation over his text messages criticizing President Trump.
Peter Strzok is set to give public testimony during today's joint House hearing.
He is expected to tell lawmakers his work was never tainted by political bias. Strzok and other agent Lisa Page exchanged the messages as both worked on the Clinton email investigation and briefly on special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into alleged ties between Trump's campaign and Russia. Meanwhile, Republicans say they're considering holding Page in contempt after she did not appear for an interview yesterday under subpoena. A Republican on the House Judiciary and House Oversight Committee said to comply with the subpoena, she could either show up and testify with Strzok today or appear for a closed-door interview later this week.
Hasn't it been so nice the last couple of these weeks? Yesterday, when we didn't have as much humidity to deal with, it was just hot out there, but it was kind of like that dry heat. We weren't really dealing with those oppressive temperatures, but that's going to change. Here's the dry dew points out toward the east here. Now we have southerly winds blowing in, and eventually these are going to come out of the south and southwest as we go through this weekend, so that is going to draw in some much more humid air. Our day planner as we go by this weekend, day planner as we go through the day today, making it up into the 90s for daytime high temperatures. It's going to be hot, but not overly humid, just warm by about noon, 89 degrees, and then sunny. We'll have mostly sunny skies with us with that southeast wind at 5 to 10 miles per hour. So not looking too bad out there today. And we have our weather drawing to show you here for the 6:30 half hour. This is from Gavin Wad. We say that last name.
Your guess is as good as mine, my friend.
Watson Erman. We'll go with that. Gavin Watson Erman, age 6, playing Pokemon Go, and you can see there he is with his cell phone. You know, I did that for a few minutes when that first came out a year or two ago, and then I was I was like, I cannot go out to the people go out to the park and they will play that all hours of the night and try to catch the Pokemon. But there he is out there, a nice day. He is from Lincoln Douglas, a first grader there. Weather drawings, even though school's out, you can send that to us at WGEM TV 513 Hampshire, Quincy, Illinois. A monthly winner gets a new tablet and a tour of the Storm Track Weather Center. A lot of fun. And just make sure you put your phone number on the back so we can get a hold of you if you are the winner.
Names not always easy, are they?
Yeah, pronouncers are great too.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yes. Right on how we say it. Pronounce your name on the bag as well. So when I picked that one out this morning, I was thinking I'm going to butcher it. So I'm sorry, Gavin.
Birthdays for 4 years now. We know.
Yes, all too well.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy.
Coming up on WGEM News today, veterans are turning to art to express themselves.
Plus, if your utility bills are getting high this summer, you're not alone, but there are some things you can do to help lower those numbers. That story on the way as well. It is 6:42. Good morning.